Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. I almost took out my microphone, waving my hand through the air again as a force of habit thing for some reason when I say welcome to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. It's Tuesday, the 4th of July.
Turn up.
Yep. It's
Sorry, I
of
couldn't
July.
hear you over my American flag shoved up in my ears.
Oh, my word. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon right across from me.
What's up?
I am so glad that I don't have to listen to my neighbors fire off fireworks at night anymore. It's kind of getting a little bit ridiculous.
Are they not going to do it tonight?
I mean, they'll do it tonight. They'll do it probably tomorrow night, and then after that...
Well, you got the whole weekend, though.
Oh, no. I guess I'm not
then you're
sleeping
good.
This one.
What if they just do it all summer, though? Then you're really, really toast.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I'm not sleeping this summer. Happy 4th of July from the Fantasy Champions. This is our 4th of July edition of the Fantasy Champions podcast. And we're going to be discussing forgotten running backs from 2018. Before we get into that, be sure to go over to Twitter and like us on Twitter at the FF Champs. Go to Instagram, like us on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions. Wow, I almost said FF Champs twice. Go to Facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions. Like us over there and subscribe wherever you listen. Wherever you're listening, you know how to subscribe. Make sure you click the bell on YouTube for notifications about when we post a YouTube video, and leave a review on Apple Podcast. Be sure to share this with your friends. Give us a retweet. Do all that stuff. Let's get into a little question that we have to start the show. On the 4th of July, you do this thing where you just eat, and then you
hot dogs,
eat hot dogs, hamburgers. I was literally having hot dogs and hamburgers for like 4 straight days, so that is that.
You and like
cringy.
Half the
country. So, the hot dog sales in supermarkets are going through the roof, and the hamburger sales are going through the roof, and the unhealthiness is going through the roof. We tend to eat a lot as Americans on holidays because, we're fat people.
Why not?
Because why not? We're Americans. But which NFL player has been eating a lot of food this offseason that needs to slow down and start preparing for the season?
You want to go first?
Sure, I got you. I'm going to choose Ezekiel Elliott. The Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
The Chinese food. The McDonald's. All led to this picture a couple months ago that we got of Ezekiel Elliott just hanging out with his buddies, and it looked like he gained 100 million pounds. He looked extra fat, and that's Zeke for you. He just eats and he eats. The guy that rolls up to the Cowboys game with a bag of Chick-fil-A in his hand, ready to go, ready to absolutely go ham on his Chick-fil-A.
Ham, you say?
Oh, well, I mean, he probably likes ham too.
I was going to say, that's probably like his dinner after his 25 bags of Chick-fil-A. Now, this one's...
How do you like go to a playoff game and eat Chick-fil-A? How do you do that?
You do it if you have $25 million.
I had like a chicken sandwich from McDonald's before a softball game that I played once, and I was like ready to throw up running to first base. And he's like friggin' running people over and like killing them.
That was your mistake, man. You got to get at Chick-fil-A, not McDonald's.
Oh, sorry.
It's clearly better quality. All right. This question's kind of hard because at this time of the year, other than Zeke, everybody's showing off their workout videos and like how they're getting stronger and more fit.
Yeah, not me. I'm not sharing
this
my
is
workout
like kind of
videos.
just...
I'll tell you that right now. I'm not at the gym at all. The more food, the better.
You know what I'm
Dad
doing
bod
4th of
coming in
July,
strong.
man? I'm shoving 6 hot dogs down my throat. Then I'm going to take 6 hamburgers. I'm going to shove them down my throat. Then I'm going to lay on the grass and watch fireworks for 4 straight hours.
That's, yeah. I saw this go, because it's a complete side note. I saw, the guy that won the or has the world record.
The Chestnut, well, I don't know.
Johnny Chestnut, or is that his name? I don't know.
We'll just call him Johnny Chestnut.
Yeah, he holds the record for the most hot dogs eaten. in like, I don't even know the time span. I don't even want to know. That's gross.
It's a lot.
It's like 72.
In very little.
They calculated it on ESPN. Just head over to the ESPN page and look at that. They wanted to show everyone how many friggin' calories he consumes in just that like 10-minute span, and 20,000 calories worth of hot dogs.
Here's a fun game to play.
Friggin' disgusting.
On 4th of July, everybody. Watch that video of him shoving the hot dogs down his throat. Ugh. And try to match.
Just follow the pace.
Just follow the pace.
Let's
Each
go.
hot dog. You and your buds. 4th of July.
Just shove the hot dogs right down your throat. I don't even think he drinks slightly, but it's not even like he chews. He's just like
no, he
shoves
it
goes
right.
in.
It slides right down his throat.
How does one fit 72 hot dogs in their body? Okay. I'm being serious.
You train yourself by eating McDonald's every day. It extend to your stomach.
I've seen like 72 hot dogs and 72 hot dog buns, like just sitting on the countertop, and
that's a lot.
That's a lot to put. Like that's like you stack it up on top of each other, and it's about as tall as you. Yeah, and he put it in his belly, and he's like this skinny guy that goes for jogs.
You got to ask Zeke that question. He'll probably know the answer.
Knows the answer.
So but it was tough though. I had to kind of dig a little bit, and even this is like not a clear answer. But I'm gonna go a guy I love, Leonard Fournette. Now this is a guy who, in the past and including this year, people have concerns about him being a workhorse because. Yeah, I know. Your eyebrows is raised. Mine did too.
You're making me nervous.
Because
I love Fournette.
He kind of does. Oh, I do too. I love Fournette. And this is why it hurts me to say that. But he's not that he's out of shape necessarily.
Yeah.
But he's not used to being the guy, and he usually has somebody to carry it with him. And people are kind of concerned, so they're like, oh, okay, well, hopefully he's like, getting fit in the off season. And there was an article today that was saying like, oh, he's kind of nowhere to be found. Like he's there, but he's not really like.
Oh, Fournette.
Yeah, he's not really doing anything crazy. So Leonard Fournette, you're gonna be the guy this year. You could be steals in every draft. This 4th of July, put down the hot dog.
Yeah, don't eat.
And please go to the weight room.
Yeah, go to the weight room. I want you to work out all day on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
He has no idea.
Something that no American would ever do.
Go pay off that speeding ticket that you didn't pay. That's going to do it for our icebreaker question to start the show. Yeah.
Which is mostly just eating hot dogs.
Yeah, mostly just eating hot dogs. Try not to eat too much on the 4th of July. Let's move into our main segment.
Unless it's potato salad.
Forgotten running backs from 2018. Unless it's potato salad, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually personally not crazy about potato salad, but I know if it's an option, people are going after it, Yeah. You gotta destroy the potato salad.
Hit the potato salad.
Even I know that, and I'm not even crazy about it.
Let's get started with our top forgotten running backs from 2018. I was trying to hold back a burp there. That's why I was hesitating.
Oh my God. You're right after your pregame for the 4th of July, huh? Hey, I don't blame you, man. You're getting ready.
Yeah, it's true. We want to talk about players that played well during the season last year, but people are kind of forgetting about in drafts this year. So let's start with the number one guy on our list, Devonta Freeman. Now, Devonta Freeman didn't really play at all last year.
No, not really.
So that goes against our playing well point. But the reason why he's on this list at all is because early in the season last year, I think it was the first game, and then later in the season, he played like one more game before they shut him down for the season. He got hurt. He was out for a majority of the season, and people have forgotten how good Devonta Freeman was when he was on the field. He has been in the previous years before this season. He was consistently an RB1. He finished with right around 230 to 250 fantasy points in the last 3 seasons. So he's been relatively good for a majority of that span. His one problem has been injuries. His one problem has been staying on the field, and last season he couldn't do that. Now, there is some concerns for me, and putting Devonta Freeman on this list was difficult for me because, I know Freeman, he to me, he looks like a breakout, like a guy that can finish in the top 10.
Yeah.
And when I look at some of his numbers, I think he's capped. Like he's not going to get you a top 3 finish unless you have a really, like the years that he finished in the top 3, it was just a really bad running back year. Either a bunch of people got hurt or people just weren't performing that season. So in a normal, like if you were to take an RB top 3 finish for Devonta Freeman and stick it in this past season, he would have finished as like the 8th best running back. So I think for Freeman, he has a ceiling. I still think he can finish as an RB1. His concern for me is the fact that Dirk Cutter is now the offensive coordinator. And I think a lot of us put too much value in coordinators coming in because we know what Dan Quinn does with running backs. We know how he runs his offense. So I don't think Dirk Cutter is going to have that much of an effect. But when you have a guy on your team that doesn't do well play calling and running a rushing system at all, it's a little bit concerning. I do think the biggest concern for me is not really talent and ability for Devonta Freeman. It's more or less just injuries. He's 1 concussion away from completely being eliminated from the game of football altogether.
Yeah, he is.
And I think all the injuries that he's gotten in the past have been lingering injuries. They've been injuries that stick around with you and help. Like there's a chance he's probably going to miss 4 games this year. If he stays healthy, he'll miss 4 games. So keeping him on the field for 16 games is hard enough. I think that's why people are fading him. But for a guy that's going in the 5th round, people are definitely like last year, Melvin Gordon missed 4 games. He'll probably miss 3 or 4 games next year, but he's still being drafted as a top 6 running back.
Correct.
Freeman was hurt all of last year, and now he's fallen into the 5th round. I think people are forgetting about Devonta Freeman, and I think whoever drafts him in your league, they're going to make you remember that Devonta Freeman's a good player.
I mean, people forget Devonta Freeman last year was going in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
And it seems like every single year he goes in the 2nd round. This year, all of a sudden, he's going.
Like AJ Green.
He's going in the exactly. This year he's going in the 5th round, as you said, which is kind of like it's kind of surprising to me. Now I understand the concerns. It's one of the reasons I didn't even want to draft him in our mock draft show, even though he was there. It's just the injury history, and you're right, he is 1 concussion away from never playing in the NFL. He's always injured, all the time. But for him to fall in the 5th round, it seems like people have forgotten. When he is healthy, he's
good.
He's a legit number 2 RB. If you have him as your RB2,
you're good.
You're in a very good spot. And if when he's going in the 5th round and you're getting him as your flex, probably, like you're in a very good spot, because even if he gets injured, you're probably going to have a good running back right behind him on your bench, and he's your flex, so you'll have 2 other good running backs on your team. So Devonta Freeman going in the 5th round, people are definitely like, you need to wake up on Devonta Freeman.
Yeah, and even if you want to draft Freeman and then later in the draft, which is very reasonable, I was going to try to do this with Todd Gurley and Darrell Henderson, but handcuff Idaho Smith to
Mr.
Idaho to Devonta Freeman. I would do that definitely, because it's not a huge like you're not spending a ton on a draft like prospect. You're not like spending a huge amount of value to get Idaho Smith to handcuff with Devonta Freeman. If Freeman goes down, then you get Idaho Smith to come in and be a good guy for your offense, I guess. I mean, always handcuff your backs, especially later in the season. But when you're talking about Devonta Freeman, he's just, when he's healthy, he's talented. He can get, he gets you the points that you need to win your freaking fantasy league.
Right.
So I'm having a hard time drafting him just because of the injury history, just because of some of that stuff. But if he's sitting there in the 5th round and that's the only option I got, I'll take him. Number 2 on our list is a man that's going right now, I believe, in the 3rd round, midway through.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette is our second guy.
The guy I was just trashing on?
Just trashing on, yes. Fournette has been completely forgotten about. He was not as efficient as he normally is last year, but there were times last year where he showed you exactly what he was.
Yeah.
There was a 4-game stretch where Leonard Fournette finished with either between 15 and 20 fantasy points through that span of time. It was just everything else was either him being hurt or completely sucking altogether because that offense blows. So for Leonard Fournette, I think he's talented. He's a good pass catcher. He's a good rusher. He's efficient. He has opportunity. You put all that together.
He screams RB1.
Right. He screams RB1. He is like, he was drafted in the same draft as McCaffrey, like in the top 10 with McCaffrey. Yeah. So he's still good. The problem with him is A, like you said, work ethic, and B, the fact that he can't stay healthy. I think those two are huge, huge things. And that's why Fournette has fallen. But I think a lot of people are starting to really forget. Like, they're taking guys like Marlon Mack over Leonard Fournette, Kerryon Johnson over Leonard Fournette. But like, there's a lot of guys that are going over Fournette. And for me, like, I talk every show, once a week, I talk about my mistake of Jordan Howard. And people are like, you idiot, stop talking about it. But in case you're new to the show, last year in the third round, I was sitting there and I drafted Jordan Howard instead of Christian McCaffrey. Oof. And it was a huge mistake. But what I learned from that is I need to look for a when you're looking at running backs, try not to find a one, like if you're looking at two running backs, look at both of them and say, is one of them one-dimensional? Like if I'm sitting there and I'm on the board and both these guys are on the same team, but I have David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen right next to each other, and you know the guys, one of them is going to go next, and you can only draft one of them. I'm going with David Montgomery because he can run and he can pass catch, and he's probably going to score more fantasy points than Tariq Cohen next year. Tariq Cohen's one-dimensional. If he sticks in the same role he has, he's only going to pass catch. So he's game script dependent. He's going to be a guy that if your team's winning the game, they're going to give it to Montgomery. They're not going to give it to Tariq Cohen. There's no way they're going to do that. That doesn't make any sense. So for me, when you look at a guy like Fournette and Marlon Mack, the Colts have Naeem Hines. They passed it to him 90. They targeted him 90 times last year. Do you think they're going to throw it to Marlon Mack? Marlon Mack was a good pass catcher in college. I'll give him that.
He is a good pass catcher, but
they're not going to utilize him like that. And that's the problem, is that Marlon Mack is similar to Jordan Howard in the respect that he's only going to run the football for the Colts, unless something magical changes. But I don't rely on something magical changing. Leonard Fournette is a pass catcher. He's a rusher. If he can stay on the field and stay healthy, he will finish higher than Marlon Mack, and he probably would finish in the top 10. And for a guy that's going in the third, maybe even falling into the fourth round, depending on where you're picking, he's a solid guy that's being completely forgotten about.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of made it known, even though I kind of dissed him earlier in the show. Leonard Fournette's one of my favorite guys in the draft this year. I know last year he was going, I think, late first round. He was a first-round pick last year. And people, I think, are kind of scared because he got burned by drafting Fournette late in the first round. And they're like, oh, he burned my team last year. I'm not drafting him this year. One of those classic cases.
Yeah.
Fournette is an amazing talent when he's on the field. He's going to have the opportunity of the world. He's going to be the vocal point of that offense. He has everything going for him. The only thing he needs to do is stay on the field. And you can say that about a lot of guys in this league. So,
I mean, the Jaguars coaching staff is raving about him.
Yeah. I mean,
in terms of like his pass catching and how they want to utilize him, like there's like the guy they drafted, he's not going to come up behind him and steal his job.
No.
You know what I mean? And I love Raquel Armstead. He's like, he had a great combine and he showed all the measurables that a guy like Saquon showed, a little bit less, but like he has the measurables, but he's just not Leonard Fournette.
No.
There's a reason why he was drafted in the 6th round.
Fournette going in the 3rd round to me is a major steal.
Yeah.
To anybody that takes Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
You know, it might be crazy for me to say this. I could see him finishing in like the top 6 of running backs this year.
I don't disagree.
I'm not saying he's going to.
Yeah.
Okay, but
yeah, a lot has to happen.
He has that upside, though.
Yeah, he has the upside. I mean, if he can average for your fantasy team and half PPR, 18 to 19 fantasy points per game as your RB2 or maybe in some cases your RB3, then I'm, like, jump on board and draft.
Honestly, to me, he's kind of on the... I think I would take Joe Mixon over Fournette, but I think he's, like, right there with Joe Mixon, very similar to, like, they just stay on the field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, in, like, 8 or 9, that range.
Right.
With very high upside as well. Because, like, look at some of the other running backs. Who has a higher upside? Leonard Fournette or Marlon Mack?
Leonard Fournette.
And you love Marlon Mack.
I love Marlon Mack.
Leonard Fournette or Josh Jacobs? Leonard Fournette or Damian Williams?
Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette or Aaron Jones?
Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette or Philip Lindsay? I'm not even gonna let you answer that one. Leonard Fournette or Kerryon Johnson?
Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette. Now we're talking who has the higher upside.
Yep.
Leonard Fournette or Nick Chubb? It's close.
Is Kareem Hunt coming back?
Yes, he is.
I'm gonna say Nick Chubb, but it's it is a little bit closer.
I would pick Nick Chubb, but I would say Leonard Fournette has a higher upside.
Here's what I'll say about Leonard Fournette and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb cannot catch the football for his life.
Yeah.
Which makes him game script dependent. Leonard Fournette, whether they're winning or losing, he's going to get the ball. So, and whether they want to pass it or run it, he's going to get the ball.
Yeah.
So I think for him, he has a higher ceiling than Nick Chubb, but
which is what I'm asking.
He has a higher ceiling than Nick Chubb, yes, but do I think that he's going to outperform Nick Chubb this year? No.
That's why I said I would take Nick Chubb, but I think Fournette has a higher ceiling.
I would not take Nick Chubb ahead of Leonard Fournette in a draft.
Dalvin Cook or Leonard Fournette, who has a higher ceiling. Not who you're going to take.
Leonard Fournette.
Yep, same. So we just went through a bunch of guys who are going in the second, third, and fourth round that I think Fournette has a higher ceiling than all of them.
And I have Leonard Fournette ranked 13 and Dalvin Cook ranked 12.
So there you go. Every year there's a running back.
I honestly sat there for a good 2 hours staring at Leonard Fournette and Dalvin Cook on my rankings, being like, do I want to move Leonard Fournette into that 12 spot? You know what I mean? Like, I was having a hard time with I don't know, for some reason I couldn't.
Every single year.
Gut feeling.
Or at least the last few seasons, there's been a running back in the third round that you're like, he shouldn't really be in the third round. And you take him, and it just changes everything. There's always one running back in the third round. It was Todd Gurley a few years ago. Last year was Christian McCaffrey. This year it's Leonard Fournette.
This year it's Leonard Fournette. I agree. Number 3, Aaron Jones. Now, the double Aaron in the backfield here with the Packers is going to light it up. Aaron. But both of them, it's funny, they're both spelled the same exact way. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is our third forgotten running back. Now, Aaron Jones he's a talented running back that has been improperly used.
You can say that
substantially improperly used. And he's been, he's not bad. Like, there have been people, I posted about Aaron Jones on Instagram, I think. Mm-hmm. And there were people commenting on it saying Aaron Jones blows, he sucks, like all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a second. Aaron Jones doesn't blow. He just doesn't get used. Like, if he was you drop Aaron Jones, just drop him on the Philadelphia Eagles, for example. And there's no Jordan Howard, no Miles Sanders. You just drop him on the Philadelphia Eagles.
He'd be pretty good.
And to me, I think that Aaron Jones is the talent is there. Mm-hmm. One of the things that stands out to me is he's one of those running backs, one of the few running backs that average 1 fantasy point per touch. I keep talking about this metric, but I think that when you have a guy that does that, all you have to do is give them opportunity. Because if they have one and I don't just look at one season, right? When you're looking at that, you don't want to look at just one season. You want to look at multiple seasons. So right. I believe in 2017, when he started, he had I think it was 0.85. And then last year it was 1. So what does that mean? Like, a lot of people are like, well, what does 1 fantasy point per touch mean? It means he's efficient.
Yeah.
If he's efficient and he gets opportunity plus efficiency equals RB1. Like,
quick
math. I'll do that for you real fast. If you look at numbers and that's what you see from a guy, Christian McCaffrey, both years in the league, both years, his rookie season and this year, he's averaged 1.1 fantasy point per touch. He did that in his rookie season. He was a mid to low end RB2 his first season. Ended up a third round draft pick. This year, what happened? He blew up. Aaron Jones, 1 fantasy point per touch. If he gets the opportunity, he will. So, I'm not saying he might. If he gets opportunity, he will succeed in this league. He's a good pass catcher. We've already talked about in the news on Tuesday that they want to throw the ball to the running backs more. So he's a good pass catcher. He's a good rusher. And then from weeks 10 to 16 last year, he finished as the RB9. So he's already proved that he has the ability to finish as a top 10 running back. If they give him the ball, and you know this more than anyone because you had him on your team.
I did.
Aaron Jones can be the guy to really, like, especially in the 5th round. Like, I think he's what is he, in the 5th round? Is that...
Yeah, I think
right
he is starting to move up, though, but I think he is going 5th round.
If you can get him in the 5th round, that is a great pick. You know what I mean? That's one of the clutch picks of the draft. Like, that you get a guy like that in the 5th, maybe even like if he falls to somebody in the 6th round. He could be that guy. So for me, I think people are forgetting how good this guy actually is and how good he was through the last 7 weeks of the season last year. I think they're forgetting exactly what this guy is, and I think, hey, keep forgetting. We're going to draft him. The Fantasy Champions community is going to draft him, and they're going to be
if you keep forgetting.
If you keep forgetting. Now, I'll just say this really fast before, because I know you're listening to me ramble, but I'll just say this really fast. It is concerning that the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur, said when he first took the job that he was going to go to split back. It has been trending away from that. He's trending away from RBBC. The concern was that the second he came in, I guess ownership told him that Aaron Jones always shows up to camp unprepared. And this year he showed up ready to go. Like, he's stronger, he's faster, he's motivated, he's ready to go, ready to play. So I think that maybe made Matt LaFleur rethink it. Mm-hmm. He wants a Derrick Henry in his offense. And if that's the case, Aaron Jones can be that.
So, yeah, I mean, when you're talking about Aaron Jones, one of the things you were saying is if he gets the opportunity. Mm-hmm. One of the things, I had him on my team last year, as you said, and it was frustrating to watch because you would see him have like a big breakout play.
Yeah.
And then he just
the rest of
off the field.
Use him,
and it's like, what are you doing?
Who's this Jamal Williams guy they drafted?
Yeah. But that was Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
He's not there anymore. I think that, we don't know for sure, but it seems like that's a positive thing for Aaron Jones. And if he gets the opportunity, he will be good. He is a very underrated running back. I think the whole Green Bay offense next year might take they were kind of going downhill.
Yeah.
They might take a leap up in the direction next year. So I'm a fan of Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
People are definitely sleeping on him. I think, I know when we did our mock draft, he was, you took him as the 3rd running back for your team.
Yeah.
So if he's your 3rd running back, you're in a very good spot. Very, very good spot, because I think he could be a very high-end RB2 this year.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying he will be, but I think
Yeah.
There's a very good chance he could be a high-end RB2. Maybe even a low-end RB1.
Yeah, I really do like. I think low-end high-end RB2 is probably where he'll finish. But I do think that there's upside there to be the Joe Mixon of this year's draft. Speaking another person that I feel like that's going to be is our fourth guy, Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake was an interesting player last year because he was kind of filled with, he's in this Adam Gase offense with Frank Gore, and he didn't really get a whole ton of opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a absolute breakout star, and people have been expecting a lot from Kenyon Drake over the last couple years, which I think have made them pass on him a little more often. Last year he finished as the RB17 overall in the whole season. So he was a low-end RB2. He had points during the season where he was decent. I don't remember where he got drafted last year. I think it was in the 5th round.
It was, I think, a little earlier, actually.
Yeah.
I think it was 4th round.
So the thing with Kenyon Drake, I talk about this metric again, the 1 fantasy point. This is another guy with that 1 fantasy point per touch output. If you want to confirm that, go to playerprofiler.com and find that opportunity per touch thing somewhere inside there. But Kenyon Drake finished with 1 fantasy point per opportunity in a half PPR setting. That means that all he's got to do is hit 225 to 250 touches in order to finish in the top 10. Am I right?
Correct.
So for me, if you look at Kenyon Drake, he finished as an RB2. I think in the new offense, there's no one else there besides Kalen Ballage.
Dude, are you saying the ghost of Frank Gore won't come back and haunt him?
The ghost of Frank Gore and Adam Gase will not come back and haunt him. I think that he has a chance to be like Joe Mixon. And I think that a lot of people are going to be like, what are you talking about, Joe Mixon? Joe Mixon in our draft got drafted in the 6th round.
Yeah.
He was, on average, Joe Mixon last year, getting drafted late 5th, early 6th in drafts. We know what Joe Mixon did last year. He finished as the number 8 running back in fantasy. Depending on what format you're in. I'll just round up. So he finished at that point. Kenyon Drake right now is going late 5th, early 6th. He's a good pass catcher like Joe Mixon. He's a good rusher like Joe Mixon. He's efficient. He's a good running back. The only thing that concerns me is that the Dolphins blow. But if he gets the opportunity, he will turn that into something. And I think that he could finish as a high-end RB2, low-end RB1. That's a could.
Yeah.
I think where he probably would finish is probably like 14 or 15. But which is still very, very good considering like you're taking what is the 5th or 6th round? Isn't that like the 21st, 22nd running back off the board?
Yeah, pretty much.
Somewhere around there.
That's wait, hold on. I think it's like 25th actually.
So like but if Kenyon Drake is going that far down and he finishes number 17,
26th, 27th.
If he's finishing at number 17 last year, and he's probably going to increase a little bit just because of a better offense and more usage, like why not draft him there? And then if he has the ceiling of a RB1 finish like Joe Mixon of last year, you're going to get a great guy. And this is a guy people are sleeping on. I was a couple months ago mock drafting and I completely avoided Kenyon Drake. And when I started breaking down the numbers, I was like, this guy's definitely somebody I need to be drafting.
Yeah.
So I definitely think Kenyon Drake is one of those forgotten players.
I'll just say, if you had Kenyon Drake on your team last year, I'm very sorry. Because you had to watch every single game where you're like, this is the week he's going to break out. This is the week he's going to break. And
like
then Frank Gore gets like 15 carries. And you're like,
God.
What is going on?
You know what's funny is they both ended up with like a split amount of carries.
They did because he did have a few games where he had more carries than Frank Gore.
Yep.
But overall, it was very like, that was a problem. One game he'd have like 15 to 20 carries. The next game, Frank Gore would have 15 to 20 carries. So it was atrocious. All over the place. There is not a guy like that with the Dolphins this year. Sure, do they stink? Yes, absolutely. But does that mean Kenyon Drake will absolutely be awful? No. They're going to use him. He hopefully will get workhorse type numbers running the ball wise, meaning carries. And if he does, and you're getting him in the 6th round, that's a very good value.
So he finished last year 5 out of his 16 games with a RB1 finish. I believe
How many carries did he get in those games? Can you check that?
He got, in the game he finished as an RB11, he had 11 carries, 4 targets, so 15 touches. The second one, he had 24 fantasy points, 6 carries, 7 receptions, so 13 touches. He had 24.
Even when he did good, he still didn't get.
Yeah, he still didn't get, which is why the efficiency is there. That one, like I said, my equation is opportunity plus efficiency. So the first thing you got to figure out efficiency. If he's efficient, then you got to go to opportunity. Can he get the opportunity? I think in this Miami Dolphins offense with Kalen Ballage as the backup running back, who's probably not going to steal a whole crap ton.
Yeah.
Like last year, his snap share,
5 carries.
His snap share was 61%. His opportunity share was 45%, and he was the starting running back.
Yikes.
Like a workhorse back in the league usually is like 80-80.
What if he gets 70?
70% opportunity share?
Yeah.
Then he's going to be an RB1.
We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I love Kenyon Drake, in case you didn't notice. My problem is that every mock draft I do for our league, I never get him because it's in between the 17 picks of separation between me and
I know.
Yeah. And like I
I
either have to take him ridiculously early or I have to take him like hope he falls to me, and he's like falling 4 picks short every time, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. But anyway, number 5 and the final guy on our list, he goes by the name of Mark Ingram. Now lately, I have done a little bit of a shifting a little bit too on Mark Ingram. I was getting fed some incorrect information by a couple of fantasy football podcasts that I shall not mention about Mark Ingram, and I started
positive.
No, not more positive, more negative.
Oh.
Yeah. So I started to do some research on Mark Ingram like a week or two ago, and I found that he was relatively efficient, and he's not a terrible running back. Like he doesn't suck.
Well, there you go. He was your guy last year.
Yeah, he's well. See, here's the problem, and this is what I think this is one of our tips on our very first episode. But don't overreact to players. Don't allow the burn of a player hurting you 1 year affect whether or not you're going to like him the next. I think
that's it's half the players. Fantasy.
Yeah, I know. It's so hard to do. But like you can't reject last year just to give you the snap share and opportunity share of Mark Ingram was 46 and 41%. He's now in an offense that's going to run the ball a crap ton.
Right.
With Mark Ingram as their main guy. He had 138 carries last year and 27 targets. I think those equally, like you could probably get him to 200 carries and 50 targets. I mean that's being not generous at all. And he does relatively well in fantasy point per opportunities, about it's 0.86. So if he gets the opportunity, it's going to be there. They're probably going to use him in the red zone far more than they did last year. I don't know if you ever had Mark Ingram or Alvin Kamara on your team.
Usually,
but watching those games,
it's a headache.
Was so painful because I was sitting there rooting for Mark Ingram, and he would come on the field for 4 straight snaps. And he'd go 20 yards, 15 yards. Drew Brees would throw it. They get inside the 1 yard line, and then you're like, here we go, Mark Ingram. And then they put Kamara out there, and he runs it in. And you're like, where's my touchdown?
One of the reasons I really do like Mark Ingram this year, and I've been on this train for a long time.
Yeah.
Really since he signed with Baltimore, of how much I like it. They still got the Gus bus, don't they?
Yeah, but he's a grinder, so he'll probably third down.
I don't think he's going to do much. Other than that, Mark Ingram's the guy. He's the guy in that offense. He might be their number one
Justice
weapon.
Hill?
No. Do you?
No.
Okay.
I shook my head expecting the audience to be able to see me, but no.
Yeah, no, Mark Ingram, I think, is the guy in that offense. In an offense...
Justice Hill might be in a couple years, but right now, no.
Not right. I mean, they paid Mark Ingram, what was it, $30-something million, I think?
Yeah, I think
over
so.
3 years? I think it was... I don't remember what the contract was.
They gave him the cheddar, and now you got to give him the ball.
Yep, exactly. And there's a reason he went to Baltimore. Baltimore loves... I know they said they won't this year as much, but you know they're going to run the football.
Yeah.
They're going to run it a lot. And even when they don't run it, there's going to be a lot of screens. There's going to be a lot of checkdowns. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of usage of running backs. And Mark Ingram has been in a situation the last few years, really his whole career with the Saints. He's never really been the guy.
Yeah.
Now he has a chance to be the guy, and people don't seem to realize that in drafts. They're kind of thinking, oh, it's the same old Mark Ingram. Because, I mean, even with the Saints, he was getting drafted in, the sixth round in most drafts. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, he has the opportunity to be the guy, and he's getting drafted in the 6th round.
Same exact spot.
So, I think people are kind of...
They forget,
they're forgetting Mark Ingram a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he had some... last year was definitely a down year for him.
It was,
because he was more efficient in previous years, and I don't know if it was just the fact that he wasn't able to start the season.
What you said, too, the red zone usage, too, I think definitely hurt.
I can give you the numbers on that, too. He had 29 red zone touches, which ranked number 25 in the league. And then he had, goal line carries 11, which was number 6, which is actually kind of surprising.
Oh, there you go.
Skirt. So he only scored 7 touchdowns, and I don't know if that was because they had a lack of targets in the red zone for him. Mm-hmm. But the New Orleans Saints rush blocking efficiency wasn't that great either. So
I remember plenty of games too where they'd give Mark Ingram the ball in the red zone or on the goal line. Mm-hmm. He get stopped like an inch short. Then they do something else and score. Yeah,
do something else.
So if his touchdowns go up from 7, I think he'll be plenty fine.
I think for me, what really needs to happen is that, and I'll tell you where I think Mark Ingram's going to finish. I think realistically, he'll probably finish as a mid-range RB2, and that's just generally where he, understanding that the Baltimore backfield is it's not clustered, it's not an absolute disaster. But there are guys there. They spent a 4th-round draft pick on Justice Hill. They have Gus Edwards, who's a grinder, who right now is the 4th guy on the depth chart. Yeah. They have Kenneth Dixon still there, who's an all-purpose back, and then Mark Ingram. So if they split snaps at all with Mark Ingram, then there's going to be concern because he's not efficient enough to take 200 carries and 200 touches altogether and turn them into fantasy points, which is why I think he'll finish as an RB2. But if he hits 250 touches, he could finish as a very low-end RB1 next year.
Yeah, even so you said mid like RB2, right?
Yeah.
So that's about 15, right?
Yeah. 15, 16, maybe 14 if he's
the 25th ranked running back getting drafted off boards right now.
Yeah.
So if you're taking 25th ranked running back or the 25th running back off the board and you're getting him as the 15th, that's pretty good. I don't think Mark Ingram, unlike Kenyon Drake, I don't really see Mark Ingram being a top 10 fantasy running back. I'm not necessarily saying that.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost a given, unless he gets injured, that he's going to be somewhere in that 12 to 18 range.
Yeah.
12 or 11 to 17 range of running backs, which to me, you're getting him in the 6th round. That's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. That does it for a Forgotten Running Backs episode.
Dude, you forgot.
What?
I don't remember. I forgot too.
Yeah, it's true. What guys are on this list again? That'll do it for the Forgotten Running Backs episode. Be sure to listen next week as we talk about forgotten wide receivers from the 2018 season. It should be interesting. Lots of different wide receivers out there that people are completely fading on and not really realizing that they're not going to get them late.
Dude, we forgot Deion Lewis.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Adrian Peterson.
You got any closing thoughts for us, boss?
I think the guy that we really forgot on this list is Brandon Bolden, New England Patriots running back.
Brandon Bolden, the 5th string running back.
He's going to be an RB1. Book it right now.
I'm going to save that clip.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, I should give."
If that actually ever happened,
yeah, I'd be
like the clip and be like,
I'd just be on ESPN. Give me an ESPN contract right now.
Yeah, right now. See you Tuesday, Fantasy.
Happy 4th of July.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.